It's close enough to 5 o'clock that we're going to get going. Please join us for a salute to the flag. Remain standing for a moment of silence, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'd like to have a moment of silence for Sandra White. She was a longtime volunteer in the school system as a teacher's aide and multimedia librarian at the Center School. Thank you. We're going to jump around on the agenda tonight, which I always do. First, we're going to have Eileen Walls and Dan Holland up to get an update on the Dyer Library. You just stand right at the podium.
Okay.
Dan, we really don't have any questions for you. If I could turn it over to Paul Bunker.
All right, Dan. I'll ask you the same question I had Sean Riley at our last meeting. Do you know anything about Abington's best?
Really?
Well, you should, because you're one of them. So I'm just going to read this. I'm going to read this for you now. Whereas Dan Holland is an essential volunteer at the Dyer Library Historical Society of Old Abington. He has been very generous in his donations to the Dyer, enhancing the collections related to Abington history. Whereas Dan Holland has kept the almost 100-year-old Dyer Library building up and running, upgrading electrical work, and ensuring safety features using his extensive maintenance expertise. He has changed fixtures, installed emergency lighting and exit signs, and upgraded lighting to more energy efficient. He is also on call for the alarm monitoring company. Dan Holland was part of the team to address repairs and upgrades when the boiler failed, and also fix construction problems at the Dyer, the 10-footer building. Whereas Dan Holland has been a constant presence behind the scenes for Abington Celebrates as the official fixer. He has chased down runaway inflatable Pumpkin Point's pumpkin and created a talking Christmas tree for the Island Grove holiday event out of spare parts, which was a big hit. Dan Holland is the unofficial guardian of the Island Grove Historical District, reporting vandalism and making repairs when needed, and making sure that the American flag does not fall into disrepair. Dan Holland installed a new power service as well as interior lights and power to the stone bandstand at Island Grove, along with timers and sensors for seasonal lighting, and supplied a sound system and assisted with decorating and heating the bandstand for Christmas events. Dan Holland assisted with wiring the cabin at the Grove for Christmas, lighting, and maintained the wood coal stove, supplying it with coal for Christmas events. Dan Holland has been instrumental in helping to set up Island Grove for Civil War reenactments, from fire extinguishers, firewood delivery, providing potable water to campsites, maintaining functional toilet facilities, as well as serving as on-site host for the visiting reenactors. Dan Holland installed lights along the handrail at the Island Grove Memorial Bridge and has taken over the installation of the buntings on the bridge as well. He has also maintained a power panel in the snack shack to power these lights. Dan Holland has run his own power cable to provide power for the band at Founders Day events, as well as for the amusements and vendors. Your generosity of time, materials, and personal commitment to preserving old Abington history for future generations and being the behind-the-scenes go-to person when help is needed for community events is to be commended and truly appreciated. For those and many other countless reasons, the Abington Select Board, on behalf of its grateful citizens, hereby awards you Abington's Best this 27th day of October 2025. Thank you.
Yep. So congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you for everything you do. Don't
move.
Yeah.
Don't move. Don't move yet. So you know what Abington's best?
I do now.
So let me tell you a little something about Eileen Walls. Eileen Walls is known by her friends and volunteers as a person dedicated to and proud of the community of Abington. whether it was because of the decades of service to her young students or her efforts to promote and publicize the history of our beloved town. Eileen's devotion to her town started when she was a three-sport athlete at Abington High School. It continued during her 36-year teaching career in the Abington public school system, where she was admired as a dedicated educator. Eileen Walls has enjoyed teaching and working with the Abington children both inside and outside of the classroom, as evidenced by her tenure as a coach of the freshman girls basketball team, her decades of service as an official scoreboard operator at the Green Wave girls basketball games, and even by serving her community for years as a ticket seller at the home Abington High School football games. Eileen is someone who has always emphasized and promoted the value of a quality education. She earned the respect of her fellow professional educators and demonstrated by their choice to elect Eileen to serve as the president of the Abington Education Association. And after her retirement, she continued to remain involved in the promotion of Abington schools by regularly updating the Abington High School website and by volunteering to update the messages posted on the Abington High School digital sign. Eileen, as part of Abington High School 50th anniversary celebration ceremony for the enactment of the federal law known as Title 9. Thank you, which requires equality and equal opportunities for high school women's sports, was featured as one of the key speakers at our alma mater, given that she is known as an unofficial historian for local women's sports, and she has been a proud lifelong advocate of women's athletes. Eileen Walls was a founding member of the Abington High School Athletic Hall of Fame and has served on its nominating committee for the last 11 years, sharing her wealth of the history of Abington sports knowledge with the Hall of Fame and ensuring that the town's finest high school athletes will have a permanent place in our sports history. Eileen also volunteers as a director on Mount Vernon Cemetery Board, which oversees the maintenance of the property and protects and promotes its history, which she does by volunteering to lead historical tours of the cemetery property, by spearheading successful efforts to obtain community preservation funds to digitize the cemetery records, and by unselfishly donating her time to help beautify the cemetery grounds. Eileen Walls was instrumental in applying for and receiving community preservation funds for the repair of the slate roof on the Dyer Memorial Library, a local librarian which catalogs, displays, and preserves historical Abington records and artifacts. And Eileen's determination to fund the roof's repairs was critical to preserve thousands of historical documents and priceless artifacts, which were in imminent danger of water damage. Eileen currently dedicates much of her time at the Dyer Memorial Library and to the Historical Society of Old Abington, where she adapts her schedule to the needs of the library patrons, assisting genealogists researching their clients' Abington family roots, and continues her own personal research of the history and the local lore of our town of Abington. Eileen Walls also brings history to life by sharing the knowledge of Island Grove Park during her popular historical tours of Abington's crown jewel, knowing that in addition to being a favorite recreation spot for local residents, the Grove is also listed in the National Register of History Places because of its detailed historical ties to the abolitionist movement and the town's construction of the Memorial Bridge and the Memorial Arch as a tribute to our community's Civil War veterans, the history of which Eileen shares with residents of all ages through her speeches, social media posts, and community outreach. Eileen's love of Abington has been shown not only in her words, but in her actions. She has devoted her time, her attention to many projects, with lots of her efforts being worked behind the scenes. Eileen, your work, your dedication, your passion has not gone unnoticed. For all these reasons above, we would like to publicly thank you and add your name to our permanent historical town records. Therefore, the Selectmen Board, on behalf of its grateful citizens, hereby awards you the Abington Best Award on October 27, 2025. Thank you so much. So much.
Next, I'd like to call the fire chief up. The chief is here tonight. We're giving out citations for meritorious service to some of our firefighter paramedics. And the chief is going to go into the reason why.
Thank you. So just to synopsize, the last couple of weeks have been really crazy busy for us. We've had building fires in which the natural gas lines fed the fire. We've had car fires next to a building. We had an incident the other day where a 9-year-old boy was climbing a tree and slipped down the tree, got stuck in the tree, and we had to use the jaws of life to extricate him. And he's doing great. So we've had a variety of different calls. One of the calls specifically that we're talking about in the last couple of weeks was October 16th at about 9 a.m. Our guys were called for a person that was having difficulty. And it's a type of call that we're used to handling all the time. Sometimes we take it for granted. But the gentleman was, he's a diabetic. He's been diabetic for 15 years. And your normal blood sugar should be anywhere from 70 to 110. His sugar dropped as low as 20, which is catastrophic levels. The guys got there. They did their job. They did a great job. He's doing terrific. And the reason why I'm pointing it out is because sometimes we do things that are routine, but his family was nice enough to reach out to us and said, could you get the names to the paramedics that saved my husband's life? And that is one of the cool, as a chief, that's one of the coolest things to ever hear is to have someone say it like that. And so we gave them the names. The family was gracious enough to come in and visit with us. And they visited a couple of times. They're here tonight. I talked with them and asked if they wanted to get up and say anything. And I think Matt pretty much said he'll give away, but it's a little emotional right now. But Matt and his family, thank you so much. We're so great that you're here tonight for So again, for anybody who's not familiar with the diabetic call, or sugar gets that low, it can get to the point of possibility of brain damage and worse. Our folks are able to treat them really quickly, and just doing terrific. And it's one of the best calls ever when someone calls me if I'm in the office and says, someone here wants to visit the guys and thank them for saving his life. So without taking too much time, I know you have a busy agenda tonight. There were 4 paramedics that are going to be recognized tonight. Joshua Nix is one of the first ones. He wasn't able to be here tonight. I'll accept on his behalf, but the lead paramedic was Michael Mastuccio. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Matt Barry. And Kevin Finch, captain. And again, I would gladly accept this for Josh Nix. I'd like to thank the Academy. In all seriousness, this is excellent. And what I tell the guys a lot of times, the guys and gals, is so many times we do things that go unnoticed. And for them, they're looking at it like, this is just everyday stuff. It's what we do. And I said, enjoy it, because the look of joy in their face, and when I met Matt and his wife, Maureen, met with me, I could see it in his eyes. And it touched me. 30 years doing this, it could touch you. So thank you to you. Thanks to the airlines for visiting with us and being who you are. So, and thanks to our great staff. So, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Next, we are going to call up the police chief. And notice that the fire chief received a lot more clapping than the police. Oh, yeah, there we go.
What a night. This has been amazing. The last time I was here, I described what our officers have been involved in. And it seems like every time we have a pursuit, Sergeant Gillen is for some reason involved because people are crazy enough to run from him, whether on foot or in a vehicle. But this particular night on September 7th, I'm sitting at home and I get a text from the deputy chief saying that we had another pursuit. I turned my radio on and I quickly learned that this pursuit turned into absolute chaos, not just in our town, but in several towns throughout the area. I got my cruiser and headed into town, and as I got to North Ave, Officer Sweet Feet Sayers had captured a guy in his second vehicle pursuit that turned into a foot pursuit in as many weeks. It was then that I realized what had really happened. So this gentleman had been smashing into cars, several 911 calls, people saying this guy's going to end up killing someone. His vehicle was all smashed up, and without any thought to their own safety, Sergeant Gillen and Officer Javasi see the vehicle in the area and take off after him. And obviously that causes issues with traffic. And somebody actually smashed into Officer Javasi's car, rendering his vehicle useless. He ended up heading to the hospital to get checked out. Sergeant Gillen had to stay with him, and now because of our staffing, we're down to one. A few moments later, Officer Sayers sees him by Martin's. That guy spins out, takes off, and we had to call for mutual aid from Rockland. Rockland is always with us. They're like the greatest twin brother you can ever have. Literally every time something jumps off, we don't even need to call. They monitor us. They're here for us all the time because we just don't have the staff. So to have this stretch out over, 2 areas of town. It started up by Target. It ended up by Martin's. 3 officers, 2 scenes, just not enough. So thankfully, Sergeant Simpson, Officer Kimball, and Officer Quino came in and helped out. And once Officer Sayers got him secured and turned him over to the Rockland officers, he went back and found a gun. Thankfully, that gun was not real, but you had to pick it up to understand that it was not real. This gentleman could have ended up carjacking someone else with that gun easily because his car was just done. And it's unbelievable the amount of work that our officers do without any regard for their own safety. Obviously we got family guys here and their families at home just blissfully ignorant to the dangers that they're in every single day. And it's just so impressive to watch play out. I'm just so fortunate to have a front row seat to all of it, and I'm very, very pleased with this opportunity to present these guys this recognition today. So thank you.
Congratulations to everybody, especially our friends from Rockland. We won the football game. I'm sorry, I had to say that.
Yeah.
All too often we can't say that. So
Just read the names up.
yeah, I know.
This is Officer Sayers, Sergeant Gillen, Officer Javasi. Came over in a car seat. Officer Pino. Thanks. Sergeant Simpson. Thanks, sir. And Officer Kimball. Sir, thank you so much. I will say, I did go visit Officer Javasi in the hospital, and I do think he could have been released earlier, but every nurse wanted to come in and make sure that he was okay. So it took a while for us to get released from the hospital. He had very minor injuries, just checked, but I can't blame him. But, well done. Thank you so much. It points out, when I talk about our staffing, we looked up the national average for officers per 1,000. The national average is 2.4 officers per 1,000. Massachusetts does a heck of a lot better. The Massachusetts average is 3.53 officers per 1,000. We here in Abington currently, because the people to my left aren't yet released from field training, currently we're operating at 1.47 officers per 1,000. And we're pumping out work like that. Like I said the last time I was here, our arrest numbers are sky high. We are about to top what we did last year, and we're not even through October for arrest numbers. Once these 7 are released from field training, we'll get up to about 1.88 officers per 1,000, which is much better than where we're at, and I'm super thankful for that. I truly am. Today we had an opportunity to train with the fire department jointly and the schools today. A man by the name of Dan Jewis, he was the case officer in Sandy Hook. And we spent the last 8 hours training together and working together on what to do should something like that happen. And I promised the people of the school that if this truly happens, that we would show up and we would take care of that threat with overwhelming violence. And I promise you all that too. And we will fight until our last breath if we have to. But 1.88 officers is not cutting it. So I do thank you all for your effort. I want me to introduce everybody.
I want to thank all these officers. And I want people to know, one of the things we've tried to do on the board in the last year is recognize the service of our first responders, which, you know, I don't think have been going on in the past, not knocking anybody or anything, but people need to know. I want people to be able to put a face to what they, you know, tomorrow at breakfast they'll be talking about this or that. I want them to understand these are the people that keep the town safe. Those are the firefighters, are the people that when your kid gets stuck in the tree, they respond immediately and save them. I think it's important for the people of the town to get to know who's out there when you think everything's great. It's because of these guys and gals. So I just want people to understand why we're so adamant about getting these people recognized. So yes, please.
So on your feet, please. So the last time I was here, I did say I was very, very excited for the next meeting because we grew as a family. And to my left is Officer Megan Wyatt, Officer Michael Doherty, Officer Stephen Praxis, Officer Anthony DaCosta, Officer Tevin Trice, Officer Cameron Mello, Officer Michael O'Shea. And they began trying to become members of our agency back in January when they first took the test. A little bit about each one of them. Cameron Mello, if you give a little wave. Cameron graduated college a week after the academy started. That's how bad he wanted to be a member of our agency. Officer Megan Wyatt, I have gotten more calls from people who we have mutual friends saying what an incredible person that we're getting on the job. She lives in West Bridgewater. I have a lot of friends out there, and quite literally mother of 5, and is ready to start her career as an Abington police officer. Mike O'Shea, Megan and Mike O'Shea down the end, they started with us a little earlier than their careers as police officers. They were desk attendants with us for just a few short months. And one of the things that stuck out Mike O'Shea is Mike started reading like the books that we get trained on in the academy while he was on the desk as a desk attendant. That's the effort that he showed. And he finished number 1 overall academically out of the 7, and he is the beneficiary of the COPS grant. So we had 6 openings, but we have a grant to pay for the 7th, and Mike is the recipient of that. Officer Tevin Trice, while we were having our physical training to get into the academy, one thing that stuck out about him, once he finished his 1.5 miles, very good shape, we finished his 1.5 miles, he encouraged the rest of the people to keep going, don't stop. And that's leadership that he's learned in the military, and I'm certain he'll bring that stuff over to us as an officer for a long time. Officer Mike Doherty fought all the way through the academy. He had a setback in the academy, lost his best friend, who was his grandfather. I had an opportunity to meet with him while Mike was, right before Mike went to the academy. The deputy and I went over and met with him. Just an absolute gentleman, and just spoke so highly of Mike. And we were very proud of the way he just kept at it in the academy to get through that. I went to the academy for training for a day, and the academy staff all talked to me about Anthony DaCosta, saying that kid is going to be a stud for us. So just being recognized by trainers in the academy is really something else. And then probably the most excited for Abington residents, because people I've never met before ever coming up to me and saying what an incredible human being that Stephen Praxis is. He was given a physical fitness commendation in the academy. And The exciting part about this is, and the reason why I told you about, them as people, is we hired 7 fantastic human beings. That was the mandate from our group when I first started a year ago. Was they wanted character, and that's what we get. We're gonna have great cops. Officer Trice and Mello already assisted in getting a gun off the street earlier. They've responded to overdoses already. They've all responded to domestics. They're very busy. This is just their second week on the road. And that's great, the work that they're gonna do. But as human beings, they're great human beings, and they want to be here, and that's what makes them special. So, welcome.
Congratulations. Welcome aboard. So, Chief, these positions weren't newly created positions. They're positions that have been sitting open for a while. Can you
Yes.
talk about that a little bit?
Yes, so we have about 40 open shifts prior to them getting on. And we still have open shifts because they're not on the road. They're all riding with a field trainer right now. And the great part about this actually is how many people in our department involved, from their background checks to their field training. Just about every single person in our department will have something to do with their growth by the time they're released from field training, which is very unusual in any agency. But these aren't new hires. They're not adding to our staff. They're filling the holes that we have. So, that 1.47 that we currently are at, that includes myself and the deputy chief and the administrative lieutenants who aren't out on the road fighting the crime. It's a lot smaller. So, and we have one sergeant who's away with the military still. So our numbers are actually smaller than that for a response to crimes. So they're not new positions, they're filling empty slots.
One of the things I want to mention to the board is we're going to be talking later about questions for a town meeting, and I want the board to entertain, I'll be making a motion then that we ask for an override for 4 additional officers. We're just bringing up to staffing. We're still below staffing, but I think we need to put more officers on the street. I think we're seeing a real increase in crime over the last, I can only speak to the last year or so while I've been on the board. And I'm prepared to stick my neck out. We need to do it. And I just want to put that out there while we're talking about the police right now. So we can revisit that later in the agenda.
Yeah, if I could. As you know, when we were formulating the budget, and one of the things I brought before the board was that this coming year, we're going to have to be faced with an override situation. And I felt very strongly, and the board has ultimately voted it, that we're going to put the questions, and I've got my motion prepared to delineate for the special election that we've already called. There'll be 8 questions, department by department by department. So it gives the people a fairer opportunity to decide and opine on the type of whether they want to spend money for override for the police, for the fire, and so forth. I agree wholeheartedly with the chairman, is that at some point in time we've fallen behind in terms of the level of policing, and we're seeing, and when you were hired, I said to you, unfortunately, in my estimation, there are 2 types of Abingtons. It's not the town that I grew up in. I've lived here all of my life. And we're seeing that come forward in the type of responses that both you and the fire department are having to face. So with that said, I think it's incumbent upon us as a board to put the question to the people and ask them, what type of town do you want to live in? And we have to be mindful that society has changed, and it's changed drastically. It's not the same society as it was 10 years ago. And we have to recognize that and be prepared to prioritize where we're spending our money. And I said this when we started the budget process, that we're going to be faced this year with prioritizing where we stand with a lot of our services. And I think the police is one of them, and I would support and put it to the people that we need a question. If we're going to add people, we can't keep saying every year, and it's unfortunate that we don't have the money, which we don't. So the question then becomes, there is a mechanism to allow that by putting it on the ballot. It'd have to go to town meeting and then ultimately to the people for a final determination. But I think it's our duty and obligation to put that forward, and I would when the time comes, I'll read my motion, which is inclusive of that, so.
Appreciate that support greatly, I truly do, and I know everybody else here does as well.
Great work by everybody on the department. We look forward to all of you guys and gals on the department. We're much needed. You're coming into a great department, so good luck.
Very good.
I appreciate it, thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you, Chief. Are the Board of Health members here? Can we just get you up to the podium? We have an appointment tonight to a vacancy on the Board of Health. Lisa Raymond has applied for the opening. Can you guys just, mention who you are so the people at home?
Yep, and actually, this is an official meeting, so we probably should open.
Yep, absolutely.
The time being 5:30. I'd like to call the Board of Health and order. All members are present with the Board of Health.
Good to see you. Roll call, we should do this as a roll call.
Yeah, I mean, the pursuant to the charter, the Board of Health would have to take the vote first.
Right.
Because if a majority of the Board of Health recommends a candidate, then we'd be in a position to vote.
Perfect.
Okay.
You have the ball.
Sure. I'll make a motion that we approve the application for Lisa Raymond. Second.
I'll say third.
Well, we've already seconded, so we can roll call.
Sue?
Okay.
I'm in agreement.
Okay, so,
Everybody vote yes?
yeah, they all voted
Okay,
yes.
then
Okay.
Paul?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Suzanne?
Yes.
Chairman votes yes. It's unanimous.
Okay.
Is Lisa here? Congratulations.
Congratulations.
We can now be sworn in by the town clerk.
Yes, the clerk will swear you in.
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. Are you sure? All in favor? Opposed? We're done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda at 5:05 is a request for a commercial garage license for Tech Motive, 761 Bedford Street, Keith Stone, manager.
He's no manager here, but
I was going to say, you do not look like Keith Stone, manager.
he's in Florida. Serena Ruiz, Director of Business Expansion.
Welcome. Let me just read the hearing notice. Select Board will hold a public hearing on Monday, October 27, 2025 at 5:05 p.m. at the Town Hall, 500 Glenowitz Way, on the request for a commercial garage license for Tech Motive, Keith Stone, manager, 761 Bedford Street, Abington. Can you tell us what you want to do?
Yeah, so we know we're moving into a property that is also a congested one, but first say what we're there for is something that's going to be a benefit to the community as a whole. What our primary purpose is ADAS calibrations. We also do alignment and some mechanics having to do with vehicle damages. But what we specialize is in doing these ADAS calibrations to the manufacturers want them done, and almost no company does at this point because they're not regulated to do so. And we spend the enormous amount of money to make sure we get all OEM equipment and we do these things right. We have very successful businesses all throughout Hawaii, Nevada. We just pulled our Boise one to move it out here. So we jumped literally across the US just to test out this area. And so we're actually really excited to be here. We'll be working primarily with Columbia Auto Body since we're inside their facility there. So we will be taking on their same vehicles so as not to increase the volume on the property. We'll be working mostly with theirs, and if we bring in other body shops, it's an in and out kind of scenario as well.
Okay, it looks like all of the paperwork is in order. The only issue appears to be with the building commissioner in regard to designated parking, because there's multiple businesses on location. We met with him, or I saw him this afternoon, and I think one or two of the other selectmen did. I think he talked to you today.
I did, yeah.
Yes.
And so I am aware that basically he wants some additional information added to that plot plan. So I did call to have that done. He kind of pre-warned me that we were probably going to go into an extension of this meeting so that I could update that. And we also need a final inspection because he needs to put in another door in as
Right.
well. So there are those few pieces, but I thought, if we could at least not have to send out all the certified letters again and do all that,
Right.
just fix
That's fine. Yeah.
Anybody on the board have any questions before I go to the public?
No, I think if we're going to, what I would suggest before we open it up to public comment, if it'd be appropriate to move to continue the hearing, and then you could hear, once we continue the hearing, then hear public comment at the continued hearing, because the application is not complete, as you've indicated. So by virtue of us continuing it, then that alleviates the necessity to notify the abutters again. Okay? So with that, because additional information is required, I would make a motion that we continue this hearing to November 10th at 5 p.m.
Motion's made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. We'll see you on the 10th.
Did you need this now, or?
We don't, you just give everything to the building inspector when you clear everything up with them.
Thank you.
Thank you. 5:10 p.m., request from Mass Electric, DBA National Grid, and Verizon New England for pole location at 107 Green Street. How you doing?
Good, how you doing? My name is Mohammed Junus. I'm an engineer for National Grid out of 100 East Ashland Street in Brockville. So currently there's a tree anchor going into a tree that is actually on this gentleman's property into the pole. We don't allow that anymore as our standard, so we're looking to remove that guy and install a stub pole, we call it. It's about like a 30-foot pole. It's just to help anchor that pole that the tree was anchoring originally.
Okay.
Yep.
Do we have anybody here that would like to talk about this? Okay.
Actually, I have a quick question.
Sure, you just gotta come up to the podium, please. Thank you.
Hi, Jason Hengson, 115 Green. I actually spoke to him outside while we were waiting, and my only question I have is, my wife works from home for a part of her job, and we were just trying to figure out when if this gets okay, what the timeline's going to be in terms of, will this be a one-day deal, or is it going to be what's in terms of how long it's going to be in terms of getting the part to be done?
In terms of work to be done, the work itself, once started, should not take more than a day, less than 8 hours. What's it called? In terms of outage, there will be no outage to perform the job. It's just working with the anchor. We're not going to be working with any primary or secondary wires. But yeah, so she should have power throughout the day. No problem.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else here that wants to speak on this?
I'll move we approve the pole location.
Motion made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next on the agenda, you want to go over the your questions, Kevin?
Sure. As we had indicated at a prior meeting and had voted.
I'm cutting you off.
Oh,
Liz, will you take the town planner, Liz Shea?
I can either do this for 5 minutes.
No, no.
15 minutes.
I noticed the glare when I missed you on the agenda.
I didn't glare. I looked at him and I said, we're getting close. So, Liz Shea, town planner. I have with me tonight Jason Gracia from our Regional Planning Agency, Old Colony Planning Council, Bruce Hughes, who is chairman of both the Affordable Housing Trust and the Planning Board. We're dual hats tonight. Our housing production plan is done, hopefully. Done-ish. It has to go to the state. We want to know if you guys have any comment. Planning board comment period is ended. The deputy town planner and I sent him comments and he's made those changes. He did an amazing job on this. It's a fabulous roadmap.
150 some odd pages too.
Right? And there's examples. I mean, it's a real working document that the Housing Trust can go back to time and time again and look at what other towns have done, funding sources and all that stuff. I will point out one of the big things I've asked him to incorporate in here is the hiring of a part-time administrative assistant to be paid for out of the Affordable Housing Trust money, because I strongly feel that that person could not only do the minutes, because they're doing them now, but do, like the CPA money could be lending, the money could be used to lend for people to do repairs to their homes, just like that CBD grant we had years ago. we can use it as a first-time homebuyers program. So there's a lot of work that can be done if there is a body in place to do it. There's nobody here who can do that right now. So that was the one thing that we kind of threw in at the last minute. So if you've read it, it's not kind of in there. But I'll bring Jason up if you guys have any questions.
No, I've read the document, it's very comprehensive.
It is.
And
Yeah.
kudos, you did a great job
Yeah,
on
good
it.
job.
And with that, I would move that we endorse the
Housing production plan.
production plan. I
And
was
you
trying
guys
to-
will sign the letter for me and I'll pick it up tomorrow.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The vote is unanimous.
Thank you.
Motion to approve the St. Patrick's Day Parade for March 15, 2026 at 1 p.m.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Vote to approve a Keno monitor at Abington Stop and Gas, 164 North Ave.
So moved.
There a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Approval of the minutes of September 22nd. I was absent.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
One abstention, which is me. Now we're to the ballot question. Do you want to get Riley out of here? I know it's getting after his bedtime.
Sure.
Can we get the chairman of the DPW Fire Station Building Committee? Streetlights are on, so we need to get him home. Mr. Riley, good to see you.
Thank you, Mr. Woods. You're always, as always, kind and generous. For folks on, my name is Sean Riley. I live at 271 Dorsey Street in Abington, and I'm also volunteering as the chairman of the DPW Fire Station Building Committee. I was asked to come give an update of where we were, because I was interrupted at my update of last month. I want to note that Bob Persichini, who's also a member of the Building Committee, is here with us tonight, who's been a wealth of knowledge with his professional background. And of course, Chief Jack Glynn has been at pretty much every single meeting we've been at also. So just to give you a quick update on the schedule. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. Kevin Donovan.
Wow.
He also serves on the building committee.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. The other members, other than Mr. Persichini, Mr. Donovan, and myself, are Derek Kalati, who's a member of the Abington Fire Department, who also was on the previous building committee before this building committee was set up. He's been working on this for 5 years anyhow. And Gordon Slane, who brings a lot of professionalism to our committee. Just to let you know, the new salt shed and driveway paving update. The foundation walls of the salt shed have been poured. Backfilling around the salt shed is now completed. The salt shed structure was actually delivered today. The paving of the driveway is scheduled for next week. That's the new driveway that's to the right of the police station. The erection of the salt shed structure is scheduled to start in the second week of November. So you should start to see that coming in shape and form. The new fuel island, which services all of the town's vehicles, construction of that should be completed by the first week of November or so. We're not sure exactly when we'll put it online. We have to coordinate with all the contractors on site and with the different departments in town. The DPW garage building, all sections of the foundation have been poured and completed. The DPW building steel is going to be purchased and then delivered sometime in early November. The erection of that pre-engineered building will start immediately thereafter, weather permitting. The fire station, we have just completed the installation of over 250 concrete piers for the building foundation. The foundation footings are now 3/4 done, and a third of the foundation walls are already in. The steel for the fire station is scheduled to be purchased and delivered sometime in December. So by Thanksgiving, we should see the salt shed structure framing being erected, the DPW building steel framing being erected, the new fuel island just being tested and finalized, the base coat of pavement, the new access driveway should be in, and the fire station foundation should be poured in place and ready to accept delivery of their steel. We still are on target and shooting for opening of the entire project by the spring of 2027. I do want to report that our construction budget is extremely tight, and I must compliment the general contractors and our project managers who are working very well together with our building committee to try to limit cost overruns and achieve cost credits wherever possible, as it is also in their best interest to see if this project is completed. I made a report to the building committee at our last meeting, which was held this past Friday, October 24th, after having received final reports for the Phase 1 soil excavation and disposal costs. I would urge interested residents to watch that video of that meeting for more details, as I tried to be as detailed as possible during that meeting. Phase 1 work includes the new driveway, the new salt shed, the new fuel island, and associated site work, basically everything to the right of the police station. Phase 2 includes construction of the new DPW garage, the new central fire station, and the associated site work to the left of the police station. The excavated areas in phase 1 to the right, especially out in the right rear, proved to be much more costly and time consuming than any of the site professionals anticipated. The town had previously dug out sand in the back corner of that town property for use during snowstorms and other projects as far back as the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Some of the test borings that our engineers had done indicated the presence of impacted soils, especially in the area which had been owned by the town and which our forefathers had used to bury some debris and materials which are no longer usable by the town. Our site engineers conducted 20 test pits and at least a dozen test borings for that 7-acre site. We also did some borings on the backyard of that residential property which the town had purchased right before the start of the project. That's just to the right of the police station. That property was privately owned and had trees which appeared to be 40 to 50 years old in the backyard, and thus we did not anticipate that the town would have buried any debris on the abutting private property. But they did. Thus, we became responsible to sort and sift through all the excavated materials so we could pull out any debris before the soils were shipped off-site. There were also areas which are 100% clean excavated materials. We had set aside money in our construction budget in anticipation that there would be cost to excavate and remove any soils which were not free of debris. Most of the debris found was remnants of roadway sweepings, parts of old telephone poles, tires, pieces of small metal, plastic bags. We did find and remove one old fuel tank, but we were fortunate that it was fully intact and there was no leakage whatsoever. To be clear, we did not find any oil or gas spills in this area, which some people might refer to as 21E spills. There were no such spills in that area. Under current law, the construction project needs to involve the soil management plan for excavated soil that's going to be trucked off-site and out of town. All of the cleanest excavated soils were reused on-site for backfilling the foundations and help establish general grades, which of course saved us money. All excess soils had to be moved out of town needed to be sampled with a robust analytical suite of testing to identify reuse and disposal options before it could be trucked away. And I know the fire chief will tell us we've learned more about soil classifications, and what you have to do with it than I care to know, but it's part of the process. Under current EPA and DEP regulations, because our excavated soils are being shipped out of town to various disposal sites and job sites, we're required to make piles of all the excavated materials, test each pile by hiring a licensed site professional, send the test kits away for testing, then wait for the test results to indicate if they're Class 1, Class A, Class B, Class C soils. We then have to send the test reports to the intended disposal site and wait for them to approve the test reports before we could start trucking soils off-site. Depending on the class, it would determine whether the soils could be shipped, and depending on the class of the soil and the company which accepted the delivery of soils, it would determine the cost to remove that pile versus another pile. It was a long and arduous process that caused us to slow down our construction schedule at that time, but our contractors, engineers, and public safety officials were adamant that everything be excavated, cleaned, loaded, and disposed of in accordance with all state and federal requirements. The extra cost of sorting, testing, and delivering all those impacted soils from that area cost $1.6 million. But thankfully, those costs are now behind us, and the site is cleaner than it ever has been in the last century. Unfortunately, those costs have almost eliminated our contingency budget, so we are being hyper-vigilant with cost increases and credits as we move forward. The building committee voted to submit a request to the town manager and the select board to seek an appropriation of up to $1.6 million in order to replenish the contingency account as we move forward. This might be in the form of a capital plan line item or borrowing funds within the limits of our town budget. There is a specific state statute which addresses the cleanup of municipal sites, and it allows cities and towns to pay for those remediation costs over a 10-year period. So that might be an option for the town to utilize. As we proceed forward each month and the buildings start to take shape, we may be able to trim the needs of our contingency budget, but I am giving you now the most updated and best information that I now have to date. To be clear, every part of the budget is either on budget or under budget, with the exception of the costs incurred for the unforeseen remediation expenses due to the impacted and contaminated soils which had to be removed from the town property. Funding our contingency budget will not allow us to purchase extra stuff or to upgrade the approved construction plans. Instead, just like in residential home construction, allows us to cover the costs of legitimate issues which may arise. One such issue is President Trump's tariffs on steel, which may be purchased from Canada. All of our steel is coming from Canada. We had budgeted some contingency money to help cover the increased cost by the tariffs, but his recent announcement to further increase tariffs will be yet another thing that would be covered by our contingency funds. I want to emphasize that the building committee and the project managers look for any and all avenues to reduce our remediation and disposal costs. As an example, the building committee inquired whether we could transport several dozen truckloads of excavated soils with lower testing results to the town's landfill property in Groveland Street to help complete the landfill capping, which is currently being supervised by the DEP. Unfortunately, the DEP's timeline for that project conflicted with our immediate ability and need to truck the soils for the landfill capping process. So we were not allowed to utilize that option. Had the DEV approved our disposal of the excavated soils to the town landfill, it would have saved us a few $100,000 in testing and out-of-town disposal costs. I think I speak for the entire committee when I say that we appreciate the efforts of our project management team from Pomeroy Associates, who has scrutinized every testing invoice, time and materials invoice, and trucking and disposal invoice on behalf of our residents, who has worked with the contractors to minimize or eliminate costs wherever possible. However, despite all of that, our collective efforts, the fact remains that we have incurred $1.6 million of extra costs related to extra soil testing, extra site cleanup, and remediation costs, which simply could not have been avoided and simply can't be buried again for someone else to deal with in the future. All of our committee members, and actually one of our project managers, all are taxpayers in this town. And it's not a accompanying report to provide you, but we pledged to share information and updates as benchmarks were passed or when unexpected issues arose, and we felt we should share these with town officials and especially with town residents. The support for the construction of a new DPW facility and a new central fire station has continued to strongly resonate through the town, and our building committee is committed to keep our residents updated today and throughout the remainder of this project. We've submitted our written request to the town manager and the board, and I expect that we'll be conferring with the town's financial officials over the next coming weeks and months to help work out a plan for our contingency budget that fits within the town's annual budget. To be clear, an override is not on the table for this project. We will work with whatever solution is best for the town. We will continue to move forward with our DPW and fire station construction projects, and we strive to complete the project as planned in early 2027. Thank you.
Thank you for the update, Sean. Great job by the committee.
If I could,
Kevin?
one thing to dovetail on what Sean has said is that the committee itself has determined that we have the costs that were not built into the budget. The contingency, in order to fund the contingency, within the committee, we zeroed out a lot of line items for furnishings and whatnot that you would expect to be part of the overall operating budget, as we did when we built the town hall. We had to have certain furnishings, and we didn't have a complete set of appropriations, so we had to go out and improvise. At the committee level, we spoke about the need for $1.6 million. I'm going to be making a motion for us to consider at the $1.6 million, realizing that it's a process. We have to go through the financial process. I would propose that we put before town meeting the question of borrowing the money over a 10-year period, which is less than what the building would be, so it can be afforded within the levy limit. And, with that said, we'll be on track at this stage. Clearly, as we get closer to town meeting, that number may or may not be refined, but I think at this stage of the game, we have to go forward with this particular number. And then as we speak about it, whenever we formulate a town budget, as we get more information, the process gels and, you work to the final solution. So having said that, I'm going to make a motion that it is the policy and direction of the select board that the following appropriation be included in the capital plan for FY27 annual town meeting to the extent allowed, and if not included in the capital plan, then the following article is submitted to be included in the warrant for the annual town meeting as follows. To see if the town will vote to appropriate $1.6 million to augment the appropriation of October 14th, 2023 special town meeting contained in Article 5 of the DPW Fire Station Building Project as authorized by the special town election of October 21st, 2023 pursuant to the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 59, Section 21CM, for the purposes of covering the costs of the cleanup and remediation of impacted and compacted soils encountered at the Central Street Municipal Site, and to meet this appropriation, the sum of $1.6 million is authorized to be borrowed by the treasurer with the approval of the Board of Selectmen pursuant to the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 7, or other enabling authority, and further that the town manager and the DPW Fire Station Building Committee is authorized to take any and all action necessary to effect this vote or take any other action relative thereto. That's my motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Unanimous.
Thanks, and we will continue to keep you and the residents updated. I was asked to mention our project, which is a DPW building and a central fire station. Our total budget of $38.5 approved by the town of the $1.2 for the fuel station work, basically $40 million project. They were comparing it to other towns that have ongoing projects. And as an example, Sandwich is building a DPW and a fire substation. That's just over 60 million in cost. We're doing ours for about 40 million. So we are really trying to get the bang out of every buck we can. And now that we're out of the ground, we can sleep a little bit better, and we're excited to see the buildings now start to take shape. So thank you for your time.
Excellent. Thank you for the update.
Thank you.
I'm just going to jump to the update on Northern Center School.
Yep.
Northern Center School, the RFP will be going out on October 29th. The buildings have been approved for water, sewer, conservation, and zoning for up to 21 bedroom units. Bids will be due December 3rd by 2 p.m. The winning bid will be awarded on December 8th at the Selectmen's meeting. You guys want to say anything? Okay. No problem. We're going to jump back to number 6, discussion and vote on the ballot questions for the May 16, 2026 special town election.
As we've indicated in prior meetings and what I did prior at this meeting, I'm just going to jump right to the motion. Move that it's hereby the policy and direction of the Select Board that the following questions, in the order in which they are listed below, shall appear on the official ballot to be used for the special town election previously called for Saturday, May 16, 2026, as follows. And further, that the town manager is authorized to insert the dollar figures for each department that will attain level services for the ensuing fiscal year. Question 1, shall the town of Abington be allowed to assess an additional amount of money in real estate and personal property taxes for the purpose of funding the operating budget of the fire department for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2026? Question 2, shall the town of Abington be allowed to assess an additional amount of money in real estate and personal property taxes for the purpose of funding the operating budget of the police department for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2026? Question 3, shall the town of Abington be allowed to assess an additional amount of money in real estate and personal property taxes for the purposes of funding the operating budget of the school department for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2026? Question 4, shall the town of Abington be allowed to assess an additional amount of money in real estate and personal property taxes for the purposes of funding the operating budget of the Department of Public Works for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2026? Question 5, shall the town of Abington be allowed to assess an additional amount of money in real estate and personal property taxes for the purposes of funding the operating budget of the Council on Aging for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2026? Question 6, shall the town of Abington be allowed to assess an additional amount of money in real estate and personal property taxes for the purposes of funding the operating budget of the library for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2026? Question 7, shall the town of Abington be allowed to assess an additional amount of money in real estate and personal property taxes for the purposes of funding the various departments at Town Hall, to include the town manager, town clerk, assessors, building commissioner, treasurer, health, information technology, veterans, and planning for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2026? And question 8, shall the town of Abington be allowed to assess an additional amount of money in real estate and personal property taxes for the purposes of funding 4 additional police officer positions in the police department for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2026? As you recall, we've already called the special election. We've already directed how the warrant will be set up. These will be the questions that will be formulated and submitted to the clerk for the ballot, and the town manager is authorized by virtue of this vote to insert the dollar figure once we know it, and we won't know it until the governor files House 1 and we know definitive local aid numbers, and then what we can put together the budget with what money we have available, and the difference will be to attain level services, which is the current services we enjoy. The town manager is authorized by this vote to plug in those numbers, and then it will be up to the people to determine at town meeting and then ultimately at the election as to how this would be. I think it's the fairest and purest form of democracy. That's my motion.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Couple quick announcements before we wrap. November 15th, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. is the election for the open seat on the Board of Selectmen. And November 10th at 5 p.m. is the next Board of Selectmen meeting. I know everyone will want to write that down. And also an announcement from the Veterans Agent. Abington's annual Veterans Celebration will be held Wednesday, November 12th, 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. at the Council on Aging. So feel free to go there and honor those that have served. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
5:58.
Have a
Yeah.
good night.